Welcome to Breaking the Chains Repatriation Journeys. I am Bakita Muhammad, and today I have a fellow YouTuber on with me who lives outside of the US, but not in Africa. But he has been to Africa. He's been to South Africa, been to Ethiopia, been a few places, and we're gonna discuss some of his adventures and how he ended up where he is now. So Rob, can you introduce yourself for us, please?
Yes. So I go by No Excuse. My channel is No Excuse ENT. A little bit about myself. I lived all over the US. I started traveling internationally year 2016. And I've been to various countries in Latin America, Africa, and Asia, 9 countries total. And recently married to a woman, a black woman in Colombia. I just wanted to put that out there. And just a little bit about my channel, No Excuse, is primarily focused on sharing my travels throughout 9+ countries and various cities within those countries. And then also I do a weekly show on Sundays called Afro Sundays, where I talk about pretty much topics in countries outside the US related to Black people. So whether it's pretty much the diaspora, but specifically my focus countries, I focus on South Africa, Colombia, and Brazil.
Cool. So what somehow I got introduced to you. I think you made a comment on one of my videos. And I ended up on your channel, on your show. We had a really good conversation. I enjoyed talking to you so much that I wanted to have you on my channel. The conversation was so organic and so just effortless. I wanted to speak to you. And after doing a little perusing through your channel, gotta lurk a little bit. I saw that you had been to Durban and you had been to Addis Ababa. And I wanted to see, I saw you say something about the African-American brothers might need to check out South Africa. And like the chicks down there must be pretty hot. So I'm like, I need to see what's going on. Like, what the brothers need to check out in South Africa?
Well, so I'll kind of go into why and how I chose South Africa. So I primarily was like traveling to Latin America, and the fellas that travel, the big 3 is like Colombia, Dominican Republic, and Brazil. So I hit those pretty heavy. Kind of in search of, I always wanted to find a wife. That's been an ultimate goal. I had my fun along the way, but I ultimately found somebody in Colombia. So before I was like kind of getting close to like being engaged and making the next leap, I was like, you know what, I need to hit up South Africa because I might see something out there, and then also it was just a bucket list thing, to hit up Africa in general. I was afraid, nervous. To be honest, I really was hoping that I didn't like it so I could confirm my preconceived notions. So I could say, yeah, because like, it's like when you kind of stuck on something and enjoying something, you really don't want nothing to disturb that. You know what I mean? And so that's why a lot of people don't want to, let's say, travel internationally, because they're afraid they're going to see something they might like. And so it's going to force them to like probably want to do it more. You know what I mean? So some people just have a fear of change. So I had a fear of change because it's just like a lot of guys we got on rotations. You know, hit up Latin America 69 times out of the year. If we go to a different country and that country is whack, now we done missed out on, you know what I mean, instead of six good trips, we don't have 5 good trips. So a lot of guys don't want to mess up the rotation. So I always get kind of like that. So fast forward, you know what I mean, for my 40th birthday, I was like, I'm gonna do Africa for my 40th. So where did I go first? So yeah, I hit South Africa first. I hit up 3 cities because I was like, I might not come back. So let me just hit up. So I started off with like Cape Town, right? And it was, you know, Cape Town is a beautiful city, you know, but I kind of seen like some elements of how people talked about like they still kind of have residual white supremacy aspects that went on in South Africa. And then also, you know, I mean, I interacted with some women, and you know, I mean, they was a little bit on the bougie side, a little bit. I could get into a little bit of that later, but Cape Town was just kind of like, and then it was cold. It was a little cold, so I was like, dang, I thought Africa was hot.
Yeah.
You know, so I had to break out a mini coat in Cape Town. So I was just like, all right. So after Cape Town, I hit up Johannesburg. So everybody hyped up Johannesburg, you know. So I was like, all right, let me see what the hype is about. So I mean, I did stay in like the downtown, which is like a more rough area, but it's like artsy. So I just didn't get the feel of Johannesburg. Just wasn't for me. You know what I mean? I hit up like hit up the malls. I hit up a couple clubs, and Johannesburg is even colder. So so I wasn't feeling the weather aspect of Johannesburg, and some people didn't like that I didn't like Johannesburg. But I'm like, yo, I like what I like.
What
so,
time of year was it?
I went this first time. I went twice. So the first time I went was in May. It was chilly, and then it was a little warmer when I went back in November. But then at night I still may need a jacket, at least in Johannesburg. You know, so you know, a lot of people say Africa is really good to go like in December. Like most countries in Africa, people say December is like a good time to visit Africa. So I went to Durban. So I went to Durban last. So once I hit Cape Town, Johannesburg, in my head, I was like, man, Latin America king. Like, I'm just gonna do this last little city, man, and I'm about to talk shit in my travel groups. You know? But you know, so before I get into Durban, so here's the thing, right? Now I was always of the mindset that even though I was with my not wife now, I was of the mindset like I'm single until I'm married. You
right.
know what I mean? And so, you know what I mean? So I had to get it in a little bit, you know what I mean? And, so like my Tinder game, so you know Tinder, right?
Yeah.
So Tinder, so over the years, like DR, Brazil, Colombia, I got a feel for like how well I did on dating apps, right? And typically like Brazil, brothers typically don't do too well. Dominican Republic, you know, I mean, you get some hits, but you get a lot of good and bad girls. And then Colombia was just kind of like the same, you know what I mean? But when I tendered on South Africa, I'm talking about I had like 200-300 matches. I was like, this must be how women feel, how women go through, because I couldn't get through all of them, and and then I was kind of like, man, like I was only there for a short amount of time, so I was like, I'm not gonna be able to see all these people, so I had to kind of do some shit tests to figure out who I'm gonna see. You know what I mean? Yeah. So that kind of stood out. So it made me think like, man, like South Africa, you know what I mean? Black men probably will have a lot more women to pick from, you know what I mean? And I noticed too that women in South Africa, they love men. They like men. You know what I mean?
Why you say it like that? Like you say they love men. What, women other places don't like men? What's the difference?
The difference is, all right, let's say like, are women like men, but women, women, especially in South Africa, they it's a go.
Okay. Okay. I got you.
It's a go. You know what I mean? So women that I would say this, women that I met and interacted with, like they showed appreciation. Like it's been like, I don't think I'm a bad looking brother. I can't think of the last time in the United States a woman gave me a compliment. Like it was women that walked up to me, was like, wow, like I like your skin, like you're beautiful. You know what I mean? I was like, wow. You know what I mean? And then, you know, coming into South Africa and just coming from the US, like, you know, I mean, a lot of us are kind of like soured by our, you know, by our relations a lot with our women. So I told guys when I went to South Africa, I said I fell in love with Black women again.
Oh, good.
I mean, like that made me like, man, this is different. You know what I mean? So when I went to Durban was like, the landscape was beautiful. Greenery right from the airport. Like I just felt like that scene in Color Purple when they was like in the fields, you know what I mean? And you know, I was just like and yeah, so it was beautiful, man. Like the weather was perfect because Durban is on the eastern what do you call that? It's on the Indian Ocean, my bad. So so those that don't know, the Indian Ocean is a little bit warmer than the Atlantic Ocean. So the Cape Town is on the Atlantic Ocean, Durban is on the Indian Ocean side. So the weather was nice. It was nice. It wasn't too hot, a little bit humid, and then like just going to the clubs, the vibe was good. And then obviously I got the most matches in Durban. So Durban naturally was like, okay, this will be my vibe. If I'm a single man, this would be the city that I would need to be in, you know. And you know, talking to women about the culture, you know, polygamy is still widely accepted there. All those things, I was like, you know what, like I like Durban, South Africa, you know what I mean? And so I've been, you know, since then I was just kind of talking more and more about South Africa. And the last thing I want to mention is that the reasons why one reason why I chose South Africa, and also I looked into Zimbabwe, Namibia, and Botswana, is that I want Black men to go to countries where they can generate generational wealth, because those 4 countries are countries where you can buy land outright, which they call freehold, and pretty much most of Africa is on not if you're not a citizen, well, really for the citizens too, it's 99-year leases.
Right.
So when I think about generational wealth, you got Colombia and Brazil, DR, you could buy land outright there too. So I try to focus on countries where you can buy land as a foreigner, and then also, you know, I mean, how well you can probably do with the labors.
Yeah. Oh, that is that's interesting. It's interesting to say the least, actually, to hear you mention. I think it's noteworthy to mention that you chose these countries because of, you're looking at these countries because of the ability to buy land freehold. So that brings me to the question that I was going to ask you was, how did you end up in South America? Because you live in South America now, right?
Right. For the time being. So so I mean, I had to make a mature and logical decision. I had to say, all right, I visited Latin America first, and so like I said, I was already, I was already pretty much on my way to like being like engaged to my wife. So I was like, do I really, at my age, do I really want to take a risk? Well, it's two things, right? It's living and then relationship, right? So it's like, okay, do I want to, how should I say this? Do I want to take a chance and say, you know what, maybe the woman I should be with is in South Africa, and kind of slowly fade from my current situation, or if it's not broke, why fix it?
Right.
You know what I mean? So I mean, I'm just being real.
Right.
So I feel like at my age, I've heavily explored the United States. I lived in 4 major cities in the United States: New York, Philadelphia, Houston, Chicago. I've explored DR extensively, Brazil. What I've been to? 14 cities in Brazil, 13 in Colombia. So I did my research and I found this woman that has stood out from the rest. You know what I mean? So I had to, you know what I mean? So that's important. So I was like, you know, I have to lock this down, and I have to live in I have to live with, I have to be a man. You know what I mean? I have to be a man, you know. And so I did what I did, you know, even though a lot of my friends really didn't support me. That's a different conversation though. They didn't support me, but it is what it is.
They didn't support you getting married?
They didn't because a lot of them anti-marriage.
Oh, that's interesting.
And anti getting it in till they 60 years old. You know what I mean?
Wow.
You know, which I was just like, nah. I was just always a relationship type dude anyway.
Yeah, yeah. So let me ask you this. You know, we have you mentioned, there's something you mentioned about being in Durban, and your conversations with some of the women there. You said that you mentioned that that polygamy is still widely accepted, right? Mm-hmm. So knowing that that's cool, because there's a lot of men here who talk about polygamous relationships and we need to be in polygamous. But do you think that the brothers from here are able, willing, and capable of actually doing and handling a polygamous relationship in the way that it's supposed to be done in Africa?
No. Why
not?
No, because it's a financial responsibility. So one thing this South African lady told me that made a lot of sense. She said, if you're not married, you're considered a boy. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And when I mentioned this
to a lot of African countries,
when I mentioned this to my peers, you know what I mean, it's a trick. It triggers them. You know what I mean, because they don't want to be. You know, you understand why they would be triggered. You know what I mean, but it makes a lot of sense. And so by being married makes you a man, means that you are taking on this wife as a financial responsibility.
Right.
Which means that you're providing housing. It ain't no
50-50 shit.
You know what I mean? And then on top of that, like, you know, obviously I'm a person that was curious about it. You know what I mean? My current wife, she not going for it, but you know what I mean, I still ask, you know what I mean?
Right.
So me supporting her, and I make decent money. You know what I mean? If we was in the United States, we'll be pretty comfortable, but I have to pay bills here and over there. You know what I mean? It's different. So me just supporting her over there and we ain't got no kids yet. You know what I mean? Like it is a challenge. You know what I mean? So I'm still not, we still don't have our house yet. You know what I mean? We're still not ready to have a child yet, even though I make $100,000. You know what I mean?
Right.
That's still, it would be enough if she was here, but it's not it's enough for me to maintain her, but it's not enough for things to move as fast as I wanted to move. You know what I mean? We on a 2-year plan.
Right.
You know what I mean? So for me to add another wife to that, I gotta have enough money to buy another house, maintain her, and then when you add in kids in the mix, like you gotta be probably in the top 5-10%. You know what I mean? To even consider polygamy. You know what I mean? So when these guys talk about polygamy, you know what I mean? They what, on $40,000 budget?
Right. And see, my main problem with that has been the way they're trying to construct polygamy in this way, that this man has 3-4 women, and all of these women are working to contribute to the household. And I'm like, but that's not how it works. It's like they want to and then they use that whole, well, in Africa the African women appreciate a man, and they do this and they do that, and I'm like, but you don't understand the dynamics of having more than one wife. Like, you don't have more than one wife and y'all all sleeping in the same house, in the same room, and all that kind of craziness. That's not how it works.
Right.
You don't. So I wanted to cover that because you mentioned polygamy, and I think a lot of the brothers from here, they don't understand what a polygamous relationship would look like outside of this sister wives stuff that they have on TV here.
Right.
That is not how it works outside of this country. That's what white people do here in this country.
Right.
That's not African polygamy. African polygamy is you as that man, you got 4 wives, you got to take care of every wife and all of her children.
Right. How the sister wives is he pretty much a pimp.
Exactly. You know what I mean? Exactly.
If they gotta work and contribute, you pimping. It's basically like you pimping them.
He a pimp. And at the end of the day, they try to say this, well, it's better for the community. You know how they do that whole, if y'all women need to learn how to work together and all of this stuff. My husband came from a polygamous family, and his father told him before he passed away that if he could have done anything differently, he would have only taken one wife. For more than one reason. The financial, he ended up with 24 kids. He had 4 wives. He was doing what was traditional. Traditionally, they take more than one wife. But he basically ran himself into the ground trying to take care of 4 women and all of the children that came from those women, which was 24. And I'm sure there was some that didn't make it through that time, through that process. But even my mother-in-law, she was like, nah, if it was up to me, none of my daughters would be in a polygamous relationship, and nor would my sons. And she didn't agree with taking that kind of relationship because of all of the complications that come with it. When we think of polygamous relationships in Africa, we think that, it's just because that's the culture or whatever, and it's just all hunky-dory. And it's not. It's not. When you actually sit down and have conversations with these women who are in these relationships, it's a whole lot of stuff that be going on.
Yeah, I hate hearing polygamy conversation in the U.S. because it's totally against how it's done in Africa. You know,
it's totally against how it's done in Africa, and then they use Africa as the example, and I'm like, but you don't know how it works in Africa, because if you did know, then you would shut up, because you can't afford to have one wife, let alone two. Because the majority of us are two working income families, right. And that is not consistent with having a polygamous relationship. But I just really wanted to kind of clear that up, because a lot of these guys, for whatever reason, they think that they're gonna move to Africa, they'll find them some village women who wanna be married, and I guess they're gonna put them all in one house, and that's gonna be it. And I guess all of the children will live there too. I don't know what these people thinking, but that ain't how it works.
No.
Anyway, you live in where?
Colombia. So I'm back and forth between Cartegena, Colombia, and in the United States, in Philly.
So how did you end up moving? Okay, so your wife, I know you met your wife there, but what made you decide to move there instead of moving her to the US?
Well, we got this saying. Well, we got this saying in our spaces that don't bring them to the US.
Oh, really?
You know, I mean,
seems like y'all learning some lessons from these sisters who bringing these sisters over.
Oh, they don't want to talk about that,
but
we always talk about the horror stories that the men go through, but you know, the minute, you know, I know a lot of guys, especially from the Dominican Republic, they've had a lot of you know, a lot of divorces, you know.
Really?
Horror stories. Not too much Colombia, because Colombia isn't highly represented in the US like that. But, you know, with the current culture and the way the laws are set up, like a lot of guys recognize that the law is not really, it's not fair. You know what I mean? It's not 50-50 fair. So guys basically don't want to leave a situation, leave the US, and then come back to the same situation to potentially corrupt the woman you with. You know what I mean? Now, some people say, well, if you secure, or if she for you, yeah, but it's the same as just finding you could just find a good woman in the US if that's the case. You know what I mean? So guys are passing up good women in the US just because just because that women have the upper hand. Some guys just think men should have the upper hand, or some feel like it should be equal. So a good woman, I had this conversation a few days ago, like a good woman is not, you can find a good woman in the United States, you know what I mean? But a good woman still has what we say a weapon in her back pocket. And I argue with this lady. She was like, well, if you treat her good, if you don't do nothing, she's not going to use it. But I'm like, it's not the point that if she's going to use it or not, it's the fact that she got it.
What is a weapon?
Weaponizing the system against you. You know what I mean? We see it in family courts. You know, it's a complicated situation. It's people doing things. People can do things out of spite in the U.S. You know what I mean? It's so many.
But you can do that pretty much anywhere, though.
I mean, how can somebody? All right, somebody could stick it to me in the U.S. You know what I mean? But someone from another country, they don't really have. Their laws are different.
Right.
You know, ain't nobody really sticking to a man like that. financially.
Oh, so so is this about not having to take responsibility for stuff?
No. So this is about, so men, a lot of men are deciding to date overseas and live overseas because of the culture and laws that they deem is not 50-50, or leans more towards the woman, whether it's due to feminism, Me Too movement, family courts as it relates to custody and visitation.
So what, hold on, you said Me Too movement. So what, they want to be able to rape women?
No. We're talking about people that have abused that movement.
Oh, okay.
No. I'm talking about like the Amber Heard, Johnny Depp case situation.
Yeah.
Those are extreme examples that
Yeah, that's kind of extreme.
it typically, I would say, affects maybe more white men than black men in a grand scheme of things. But I think ultimately, though, guys that want to have children, especially guys that want to have children, guys that want to be married, and guys that don't want a divorce. It's like, I'm not going to invest in anything that has an 80% chance of failing, right? So we got an 80% divorce rate. I'm not betting on that. I'm not betting on that.
So you guys think that people don't get divorced in other parts of the world?
Yeah, but I'm saying, like, you got the United States is like is let's say 80% divorce. 80% of the 50% of divorces are 50% of marriages end in divorce. 80% of the out that 80% of divorces are filed by women. You know what I mean?
Do y'all understand why?
That's a debate.
Okay.
In other countries, Colombia, for example, their divorce rate is like 10%, more or less 10%.
And why is that?
Well, to be fair, because there's a low marriage rate. So there's not a lot of people compared to other countries get married. So a low marriage rate is kind of why they got a low divorce rate. But you got countries like Brazil, they have about DR in Brazil, they may have about a 25, let's say about a 25% divorce rate. Africa is pretty low. African countries is pretty low. It's pretty low as well. So guys that want.
But are we exploring the why of that?
So we could we could dabble into the why.
No, I want to know what reason do the men who are talking about this, that you talk about, why do they think that the divorce rate is lower in these other countries?
In these other countries, I think it's more about why is the divorce rate higher in westernized countries like the US, the UK.
Okay, so why do you all think the divorce rate is higher in the US?
One contributing factor is the rise of feminism, or we'll say the second wave of feminism. So feminism one was, I would say up to 1970s, and then you have feminism two, which brings it from the 70s to the present. So a lot of people, including myself, look at feminism as a contributing factor. So what feminism was supposed to do was empower women, give women equal rights. You know what I mean? But not equal outcome.
Mostly equal pay for the same work.
Yeah, for when it comes to work, equal pay, and then equal rights, which is fair. You know what I mean? But then some extreme feminism came into play, and it's like okay, we got equal pay, equal rights. Now we want equal outcome. So when I say equal outcome, an example of that is like, it's people that say, why don't women in the WNBA get paid the same as NBA players?
Okay.
Because
I mean, they don't bring out the same numbers as NBA players, so they shouldn't get paid the same kind of money. But
it's common sense to us, but to some people, it's just like, we want the same outcomes as men in every scenario.
Well, I don't think that is. I don't even think that makes sense. So
exactly, but I'm saying that there are a facet, not a lot, but there are
not a majority.
No, not a majority, but there are people with loud voices that want equal outcomes. You know what I mean?
Okay, so let me ask this question, because this is something that and this conversation is going in a totally different direction than I expected it to, but I'm okay with that because
okay.
I think it's a conversation that needed to be had anyway. At least I needed to have it with a sensible man and a married man, because it's really nothing that, if you can't seem to snag a woman, then there's nothing that you can really say to me. I've been married for 11 years today. And I've noticed in the last few months, I would say, I've been paying more attention, or it's caught my attention, that there's a lot of bickering amongst men and women about relationships and things of that nature, especially Black men and women. I don't see a lot of white people having this conversation. But I'm wondering, like, what's going on here? Because the men seem to want something that they think the women aren't providing, and the women seem to want something that they feel like the men aren't providing. And I'm not understanding how these two ships are missing each other in the night. So can you tell me what is your thought? Because you mentioned feminism. I'm not big on the whole, like, I don't even like that word because of the connotation that comes with it. I do believe that women should have equal pay. I believe women should have equal rights. I do believe that it is extreme to want women in the NBA to make the same kind of money that men in the NBA make, when women in the NBA can't even fill up a stadium. For whatever reason, people just aren't as interested in watching women play basketball than they are as watching men play basketball. And there's a lot of things that's like that. But then you have situations where, like, look at Serena Williams. She tennis was a male dominated sport for a very long time, and things have changed, and women make really good money playing that, but people come out to watch. Right. So that's a different thing. So could you give me another example of something outside of the NBA where these women are saying that or wanting equal outcome? Because I don't think I really.
Well, I mean, it's other examples, but you know, I mean, there's statistics where, let's say, men make more money. When people just look at the raw numbers, right? Men making slightly more money, but then sometimes people don't look at what jobs they're doing. So some jobs demand, like a laborer's job. I think it was like a viral video. A man was like in a sewer, like removing stuff from the sewer, and they were like, he making $100,000 a year. And somebody mentioned, like, will women do that? You know, I mean, most was like, no, they wouldn't do that. It was like bugs and bees around them. Go ahead.
But I'm just confused, because that's not the same thing. What women are saying is, if I'm pulling shit out of the sewer and a man is pulling shit out of the sewer, if he's getting paid $100,000, I should be getting paid $100,000 too.
That's clear. That's clear.
But that's not an equal thing, though.
What I'm saying, yeah, that's clear, but that's not what some extreme are arguing. They'll say, well, if that job pays $100,000, then my job, regardless of what the job is, I should be making the same amount of money for being a secretary. I'm just throwing that out there. So I'm just saying, so people want equal outcomes. So so it's like we should be making more money because these men are making more money doing something different. So people want equal outcomes based on just the raw numbers. I'm not talking about the same.
No, that's stupid. That's just stupid. If you a neurosurgeon and I'm a neurosurgeon, we should make the same, and we came out of school at the same time, we're doing exactly the same thing at the same time, we should be making the same money. But if you are if I'm a family practice doctor and you're a neurosurgeon, we're not gonna be making the same money. And we shouldn't, because our jobs are different. So that doesn't even make logical sense. I don't even know why y'all would even entertain that kind of conversation. Speaking of which, I don't understand what is up with all of these men entertaining all of these men, because I don't know men who entertain all of this women talk bullshit that I see all of these men entertaining. How is it that so many men are being in arguments with women about these things? I'm not understanding.
All right, so just fixing my lighting real quick. So I want to answer all those things you answered. So something that I've seen today, right? And this is just westernized society. So in Australia, right, it was a guy interviewed this club promoter. He's implementing a policy that says that men basically, if it's anti-staring. So if you're staring at a woman or unwanted attention, you have to leave the club. You know what I mean? And so this is Australia. So Australia is another Western, society like the U.S. And people were just floored, because anybody that know Australia, like they're even more progressive than the United States. Like men there are just, they complain. But the point is that they're at a point in their society where they are penalizing men that stare at women. You know what I mean? And it's like, and the thing was unwanted attention. So to make a long story short, basically, when they broke it down, basically they're saying that this club basically wants only the Chads and the Tyrones, the highly attractive men, to be in the clubs, because the average looking dude is the ones that's going to be staring at all the women. And then women don't want unwanted attention. They pretty much want attention from these highly attractive men. So moving towards the United States, we have these conversations in Black media that most women like a small percentage of men. You know what I mean? And just from my observation, I've been around a lot of women, had a lot of conversations. A lot of Black women feel like that there's not a lot of attractive Black men in the United States. So they
really,
yeah, a lot of women feel like, I mean, I see posts all the time, like, you know what I mean? Like, if I'm not attracted to him, I'm not gonna go out, I'm not gonna have sex with him.
Why would you?
That's fine. So we have, and
y'all have sex with women that y'all not attracted to?
Yeah, men do all the time.
Why?
Men Men need a
Oh,
release.
weird as fuck.
But I'm gonna drive this home now. So
Please do.
so we have a lot of women have admitted that, you know what I mean, that they like who they like. There's not enough attractive or men that they find highly sexually attractive, and so that's why a certain percentage of men are always pursued, which leaves a lot of whether average looking or average earning men, you know what I mean, feel left out. So so you have that dynamic of why, you know, there is these conversations about relationships, because a lot of men are unhappy, typically the ones that are average looking and average earning. So those men feel like they are more appreciated, and their average salary can take care of a woman. You know.
Okay, so I'm confused. So if you can only muster up an average salary here in America, what woman, if nobody wants you here, I'm not understanding how is it that you're going to go to another country.
So let me say this real quick. So maybe it'll tie in. So it's a quote that says, "Men make money so women can be dependent on them. Women make money so they can be independent of men." So if the premise is men make money for women to be dependent on them, which I feel like I believe that, I think that's a natural innate thing of a man to want a woman to depend on him. If women here in the United States are in a position where they don't have to depend on a man, and a man needs financially, yeah. If a man, a lot of men want a woman to be dependent on them financially. And
okay.
So
go ahead, I'm sorry.
No, and so I personally don't think there's nothing wrong with that. You feel that's what makes you feel like a man, to be able to provide. You want to be with someone you can financially provide for at the minimum. And so a lot of men can provide with their average salary here in another country where the currency is like 3 to 1 or 4 to 1. You know what I mean? So
okay, but are you going to make that same money in that country?
No, you don't have to. I mean, the men that are able to live, the men that are able to live overseas are few. They are typically retired military. Some are retired military on disability. Some have pension. Some men work IT jobs where they can work online on the computer. Some men do really very good in real estate investing. Some men do very good in crypto investing or stocks. And then there's men that just
but that's not many of them. Most men aren't making like money without going to somebody's job and clocking in.
I would disagree, because when you look at the census data and you look at the type of jobs and the money they make, most men, especially Black men, work blue collar. Truck drivers. I know truck drivers.
But that's something where you have to be here to make that money, like.
Right, but I know people and I know somebody that works offshore on an oil rig. So you can go hard as a truck driver for 3 or 4 months. You know what I mean? These people making 6 figures easily.
Yeah, my dad was a truck driver. My dad had 3 trucks.
Yeah, so you can be in the U.S. 6 months and be in another country 6 months.
Okay, but is that conducive of how you gonna maintain your marriage?
Financially or physically?
No, physically. Like, you do you men think that all women need from y'all is money?
No, I'm saying, but everything is non-traditional. I mean, as far as that, like yes, it's a for I'll put it like this, for guys that want to be married or be in a relationship, it's only about 20%. I did a poll. So out of all the men, black men that travel overseas, whether it's for love, for casual dating, whatever, only about 20% of us want a relationship or marriage. So the other 80%, you know what I mean, just want to live.
So they just want to hold out the whole rest of the world.
Yeah, I mean, what they wanted to have a playground. I don't want to say a playground. Man, I feel like people that aren't virgins should be having healthy sex relationships. A lot of guys are not having sex. You know what I mean? Those are conversations that are coming up in white media, national media. Like a lot of men feel sex deprived. So that's, so they go where the culture, casual sex culture, is more rampant. Now, some people may say, well, because those women are, in a different situation, but those men created that culture, and casual sex, especially in Latin America and even parts of Africa, it's just the norm. Where in the Western societies, it's a little taboo.
Okay, so this is where I have a problem with it.
Okay.
Because here we have the black men here talking cash shit about Black American women who they pretty much done the exact same thing to. By they get with them, they have all of this casual sex with them, have children with them, and leave them, and go to the next one, have children with them, leave them, and then now we're being looked at as, oh, you got all these, you got this, you got these baby daddies, and but the men are, from what it sounds, that's like you're intentionally leaving us in situations where now somebody else is going to have to take on the risk. Somebody else might have to take on that responsibility while you somewhere gallivanting around, still going from woman to woman to woman. So now, instead of it just being mostly us Black Americans, y'all gonna go around the world and do the same shit?
I mean, it's a little, to your point. So you're making a good point. So yes, based on what I'm saying, men, and I hate to say this because people that criticize the passport brothers say that men just want to run through women. Yes, a lot of men do want to run through women. I can't sugarcoat it. A lot of men want to run through women. You know what I mean? Now,
but then when they're ready for a woman, then they don't want a woman that's been ran through.
Right. So, but
how does that work?
Because the psyche is like a society where there's women that are there for sex, and then there are virgins. So because that's what it boils down to: virgins and non-virgins. So let me say this point. So this is why a lot of countries, specifically Latin America, makes sense. Is because that to have what these guys want, women they can have sex with, but also women that are quote unquote good girls, legal prostitution. So guys don't have to run through regular women. They could just run through beautiful.
They can do that.
It's not legal.
Okay, so let me in Nevada it is. They can.
Come on, man. If you go on YouTube and see Nevada houses, them chicks look like, no. We talking about.
Okay. But so what it sounds like to me is that these men, not you, but these men are, you don't want any responsibility. You don't want to, you want to talk shit about us. But you put us in situations where we don't have a choice. So before I was married, I was a single parent. And I didn't want to be a single parent.
Right.
I ended up being a single parent. And it wasn't because I just was making all kind of crazy ass choices. It was probably because of this same shit right here. It's not that I was making all kind of weird choices. I thought I was making a good choice, but that didn't work out. I didn't get get into another serious relationship until my daughter was 10 years old. But in the meantime and in between time, I had to take care of that child. I had to have me somewhere to live. I had to do all of the things that it takes to be a damn person with a kid. And the man tends to get to just go on with his life and go find somebody else and go and do whatever it is they want to do. But then we're left, and then people get to sit on their ass and talk shit about the fact that we've had to be independent. And that's where I think Black men messed up, is we've been put in a position where we've had to be independent. Don't nobody want to do this shit by themselves.
Right, but I want to say this too, because there is some accountability that has to be said as well. Like having, it's one thing to have a child with one man and that didn't work out, and then you fall in love again. Men have a way of sweet talking a woman and making her feel comfortable, and maybe you have another child by another man, but like they say, you fooled me once, shame on them. You fooled me twice, shame on me. You know what I mean?
I totally agree.
So so when it comes to like 3 or 4 different child father, like it does, and it's one is celebrated.
Celebrated.
Some people celebrate, like
I've never seen a woman celebrate that. I've never seen that. Please show me that. Like, I really want to see where women are celebrating having more than.
Simp celebrated, but I want to get to this. I want to get to this.
Oh shit!
I want to get to this.
You done said that word.
But all jokes aside, you got there has to be some accountability as well, because what I will say is that what a lot of men, I don't want to say all, what a lot of men that do want to run through women, no judgment from me, is that what they would ideally want is more Africa than so Africa, like let's use Nigeria for example. They run through women. They have a lot of them impregnate women. They do the same things that Black men have done in the US, but they can get away with it more in Nigeria. Black men would love, a lot of Black men would love that.
So this is about being able to have all these babies, because now you said that there has to be a level of accountability. So there needs to be a level of accountability for the women, but not the men.
So it's 2 parts to that, right? So there's a difference in Latin America. Whereas, so if black men infiltrated parts of Africa, right, they probably would be having babies, running through women, because African women are a little bit more, they're a little bit more green. I'm just use the word green. They're a little bit more green. A little bit more naive, and that's not, and I hope no one takes offense to that. Africans have a welcoming and nice people.
I don't think they're naive.
You can see how nice they were due to colonization was so easy in Africa. That's a different conversation. So black men flooding Africa would be doing the same thing. Which is a bad thing. In Latin America, Latin America is slightly different because those women don't be really letting foreign men get them pregnant. You know what I mean? The regular girls, like they will have sex with you, but they will morning after pill. They won't they are very guarded about, you know what I mean, getting pregnant. You know what I mean? That's something I noticed in Latin America opposed to like Africa. Men will be getting them pregnant. Even in the Philippines, they you know, men were more of white men were getting girls pregnant and leaving them. So I say accountability because in Latin culture, they don't let foreign men knock them up as much as I see in like Southeast Asia or even Africa.
Well, not getting knocked up and not having babies is totally different.
What you mean?
So you're saying it can't be both ways. They can't be fucking out both legs and not, so they're not getting pregnant at all? Or is it that they're not having the babies? They're having abortions.
I mean, abortion is illegal in like DR, Colombia.
You think because it's illegal, it's not happening?
It's hard. I mean, a lot of women that get pregnant by their own men in Latin America, they have the babies because they don't have those contraceptive options. But what I'm saying as an observation, and you have to take my word, is that when it comes to foreign men, you know what I mean, the women, whatever reason, whether they fear that a man is not going to come back, or what their family is going to think, or they want to protect their lineage, they're not letting foreign men get them pregnant on the same scale as women in like Southeast Asia or Africans letting foreign men get them pregnant. You know,
well, most of the time they're getting pregnant by foreign men for the benefits that come with getting pregnant from a foreign man, right?
I mean, in the Philippines, well, I've been to the Philippines. The Philippines, you can't even get morning after pill.
No, what I'm saying is, from my understanding, a lot of the times when they're getting pregnant by these foreign men, it's in hopes that having a foreign child will help them, or it'll benefit them in the long run.
I mean, it's a calculated risk. I mean, yeah, right. If I'm a woman, I'm gonna have a baby regardless in life, I might as well have a baby with somebody that could possibly make my situation better versus in somebody that, you know, don't have no money.
Right. So I'm finding this conversation very interesting because I had been really just bewildered by trying to understand what is it that these men are, what they looking for. And it looked like you saying they just want to be able to run through folks. They run through the women here. So if you able to, so what, they done ran out of women here to run through, so now it's time to go to other countries and start running through them?
I mean, some men, like I said, I would say, like I said, I did a poll about 80% of men that travel are not interested in marriage or relationships. That's fine, because there's a lot of women that don't want to get married either. So
right,
fine. So just like there's women that want to run through men, there's men that want to run through women. So it's the same both ways. You know what I mean? So I want to make sure that it's not just men that want to run through women, it's women that want to run through men. But
are women really trying to run through men the way men are trying to run through women? Is that, would you say that the numbers would be equal on that?
Yeah, I mean, cheating is about equal. Some studies even say women cheat more, and some women on these social media posts,
I think they cheat better, not more. It's probably about the same.
Right. So we about this. We let's just say it's about the same across the board. Mm-hmm. It's just that when Black men do it, it just seems to be more, you know, highlighted. You know, versus if you find similar examples of women, you know, wanting the same thing. But the men out of the men that travel, I would say maybe half the men never really never had problems getting women in the United States. It was just that it may have been either cost them more money, whether it's dating or going out, or they may not been able to have sex with enough women in a short amount of span. Like there's men that want to have sex with a woman, different woman every day. That's pretty difficult to do in the United States. Even if you're a man that look good and make good money, you know what I mean? Like it's just not really something that's
all to have. Oh God, like that's so damn random to me. Like
but it's women like that. It's women like that too. Like people.
It's not. That's. I'm gonna go out on a limb and say that it can't be as many as it's sounding like, because you saying like 80% of the men that was polled. I'm gonna just go out on a limb and say that the 80% of those men are that was a small sample of men. Because I don't want to believe that that's just how this thing is, because that is absolutely ridiculous. So if that's the case, why make a big fuss out of the fact that like this whole women don't want to be submissive, and women, why make such a fuss if y'all don't really want a woman anyway?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, if you just want to smash, should it really matter? It shouldn't really matter how submissive she is, if she cook or clean, but it is some contradictions. You know what I mean? You got guys that strictly, they don't care about the submissive stuff, they want to smash it. Then you got guys that want a chick that's submissive, but they're not looking for a wife anyway. You know, so people want what they want. Like
right.
People say women are delusional. There's a lot of men that are delusional as well.
Absolutely. Now we definitely agree on that because I think a lot of these people are delusional in the way that they are even going about relationships. Because I had a man told me, he's probably in his late 30s, early 40s. He told me that when men don't want a partner, they want a wife. And I'm like, okay, what is a wife then? Is a wife a slave? Like, what is a wife? If a wife is not a partner, then what is she?
Well, I mean, you're kind of splitting hairs on definitions. So partnership to one person may mean something different to another. So when I think of partnership, I think of a business. It's 50-50 partnership. You know what I mean? We have equal voting power. We got equal, we split the profits. In a business, a partnership.
We're not talking about a business though. We're talking about a marriage.
Right. But we have to look at marriage as a business. You know what I mean?
Okay.
As a business. So
let me ask you this.
Right.
You're married.
Mm-hmm.
How long have you been married?
I've been married for 5 months.
Okay. So I'm gonna ask you a hypothetical question since you've only been married for 5 months. You take care of your wife, right?
Yes.
Without going too deep into your personal business, does your wife have to work?
No, I don't. No, she doesn't work.
Okay. So you want to have children?
Yeah.
Okay. So tell me, what would happen in your marriage if your wife has children, you are the sole breadwinner? What happens if something happens to you?
Me, as far as what? For example?
You get injured, you can't work no more, you die. What happens to your wife and your children?
All right, so insurance policy.
Most people don't have insurance, so that's out the window.
I mean, yeah, I mean.
And you're in another country. So if y'all in another country, what your insurance gonna look like?
It don't matter. She's covered. So she's my wife. She has to go to the state. She has to go to the state that I have my will and everything in, and they will.
Can she come to the state?
Can she come to the state? If in the event that I pass, yeah, she'd be able to come. I mean, she'd be able to come because most likely my funeral will be here. Anything she'll have to take care of as far as transfer of ownership and things like that.
But you said that y'all say that y'all don't bring these women to America.
I mean, I got a house here. I mean, I got a house.
Okay, so how would she get here?
No, if she had to come here on a tourist visa, she would get an emergency. She would get, in that situation, she would get an emergency visa to see her or her husband.
Okay, so let's say you didn't die.
Okay.
Let's say you got injured and now you're disabled.
If I'm disabled and it was better for me, the services was better for me to be here. There are circumstances where it makes sense for her to be here than be somewhere else.
No, I'm not speaking of her being here. What I'm talking about is, so okay, we have these, I'm hearing a lot of these conversations, and it seems as though these men, they want women who they want this, for whatever reason, they have this idea of what life used to be like traditionally. And I'm wondering, in this day and age, where most of us don't live on farms, most of us ain't growing our own food, most of us only know how to go to the grocery store or go to the store and pick up stuff we don't know how to sew, we don't know how to do most of that stuff, right? So in this day and age, when if you're married to someone, no matter what part of the world you're in, as the sole provider for that family, how do these men expect, if something was to happen to them, and things happen all the time, how will your family, that where your wife hasn't worked in, let's say y'all been married for 20 years, she ain't worked in 20 years, how is she gonna take care of you, her, and y'all's children in that case? When she's not a partner in this relationship. She's your wife. She doesn't have any financial contributions at all. How does she help take care of you and the children?
Well, like I was saying, like, you have to have your life set up for these type of situations. One, you know what I mean? So in the event of death, yes, there are insurance, there are inheritance, there are savings, there are things that a husband should make sure that he has in place in the event that he's gone. In the event that he's disabled or incapable, the same things apply. If I was to be disabled, there are type of insurances I have that'll give a certain payout. Me operating a home as a rental or Airbnb, any businesses that I have in place can still operate. You know what I mean? I just have to make sure that she knows how to operate. You know what I mean? I can't have her clueless on how to run a house, how to, do basic things, pay certain bills, call something. So it's certain things that you have to include her in. And also being an American citizen, we have the most benefits that you could get in any country. So whether I receive a disability,
I don't agree. I won't have to disagree with that. I think Europeans have way more benefits than we do.
Well, yeah, I don't know. we was one of the few countries that got, you know, stimulus money during the height of the pandemic.
Europeans got stimulus money during the height of the
Yeah,
pandemic.
yeah, they did. But I'm just saying, out of, you know, we're a small percentage of countries out the total. So we're talking about women that guys are with in typically weaker economies.
Right, we are. So my question is.
So there's guys, and there's, you know, examples on YouTube. There are guys that are disability that live overseas. They're receiving, whether it's military disability. It's a big YouTuber. He's in a wheelchair. He got this young Filipina taking care of him. You know, so it's
see, that's different. That's a military disability or being disabled already is totally different than you living in Colombia and you become disabled in Colombia.
Both situations still got benefits. I mean, the benefits that come with that, I will be able to still get regardless of another country.
Okay. So now since we've answered for you, so the typical Black man that you're talking to on a regular basis, do you think they have these things in place and they're asking for somebody to, they want women who don't work. They want women who, I guess, they don't talk. I'm not really sure what, cause they throw around this whole masculine, feminine thing a lot. I guess because women Black women are capable of providing for themselves. That's a masculine trait. I'm just trying to understand what is it that the men are really looking for, because it just seems so contradictory. Like you want a woman who is submissive, but submissive to what? I just don't understand. Like I can't. I can't think far.
So we're talking about the 80% that don't want to be married or
right.
Okay. So and this is just, you know, a rough estimate, but the 80% of men that's not looking for nothing serious, they're gonna die. They're gonna die alone. You know what I mean? So
okay.
So and I'll say this as well. You know what I mean? I support the travel movement. I support what men are doing. You know what I mean? But the reality is, like Kevin Samuels used to say, certain women gonna die alone. A lot of men gonna die alone too. You know?
Yeah, they are. Yeah, a lot of people gonna end up dying alone. Period. But I think I just think the conversation is so fascinating. To me, like I found myself just kind of like some nights I'm just like watching and I'm like, wow, this is so bizarre to me, because the men that I know, and I come from a family with men who are very, very strong and masculine. Like the men in my family were like the most masculine men that I know. And the men in my life, like all of the men that I know are men who, when they walk, their presence alone just commands a certain level of respect. Right. They don't have to ask women to be submissive, or they don't come. I never hear them complaining about women being submissive, because it's something that happens naturally for them. And I've come to the conclusion that a lot of these men who are not getting that from women are men who just, they ain't got it. And that's just what it is. And the truth of the matter is, if we're just honest about things, women are in position now where they really don't need men for a lot of things. Women are choosing to be with men because people want companionship. We like men, but it don't seem like a lot of men like women. And you know, because if we're
outside of sex,
huh?
Outside of sex, you saying?
Yeah, outside of sex, it seems like they don't like women. And women, to me, I feel like if I have my own I got my own job, I got my own house, I got my own car, I make my own money. I really don't need a man. At this point, we don't even really need men to have babies no more, because men so damn broke. They selling their damn sperm for a pizza. So we can just go pick up a catalog and flip through and find a good specimen of sperm to have babies with. So we don't necessarily have to have men for that. We want to be with men because we like men. But then you have these men who, and for us, sex is most of the time, for most women, I ain't gonna say all of them, because there's a lot of women out here don't give a damn about having sex with men and all of that stuff. And they, like you said, they want to run through as many men as they can. A lot of times that's a trauma response, but we ain't gonna go there. These men, I don't know, it just feel like they want something from women that is unattainable. I think they're being unrealistic, like some women who are unrealistic. Let
me ask you, well, do you think America's way of doing things is better than how they do things in other countries or developing countries?
As far as what?
As far as well, I'll say this: do you think that our dating relationship culture is better than other countries that are not westernized?
I believe that the way we're looking at it as Black folks, we're looking at it through the lens of white people. Mm-hmm. And I think that really just kind of, because I don't think the way that Europeans do things is the way that we should do things. Right. And I think that our men want what white men have, or what they think white men have. And I think that is not conducive of good dating and relationship habits with us and within our culture. Now, outside of here, what I've seen is most of the time, the women that I know outside, that live outside of this country, the majority, that 80% of Black men, they wouldn't even look at them twice. They would get the same kind of treatment that they would get here if the women knew better. So that's where that naivete that you talked about come in. If they knew that just because you're an American don't mean you got it going on. Just because you was able to save up a little money and get a flight don't mean that you really got it going on.
But if they knew better, I'm gonna use Nigeria for example. If they knew better, then Nigerian men wouldn't be able to get away with a lot of stuff they get away with. It's because they have the patriarch structure. You know what I mean? Men run that country. So you made a point, and so and it's kind of going to prove my point a little bit better. So okay. When you say Black men trying to emulate the white male power structure, be honest with you, the white male power structure, what you see in the US, Europe, Canada, Australia, you see more of them basically giving the keys to the women to run society. And then you got a fraction of men that really men really control feminism. You know what I mean? Ultimately, because they create, if the ones that could take power is the ones that could take it back. I agree. So the men, 99% of men hate the 1% of men that really funds feminism. You know what I mean? So my point is that white ran countries, the elites the elites they good. You know what I mean? They give the reins to the women in society, but at the top, you know what I mean, they still control the
So let me
military.
ask you a question.
Mm-hmm.
In those societies,
Mm-hmm.
these are societies that are also considered first world countries.
Right.
They've progressed so much more than the countries that have not. So it to me is really weird how men tend to look at this thing where, okay, you got these patriarchal societies that are really struggling, like
right.
they don't have shit.
But you say we shouldn't
But
try to emulate the white man. But go ahead.
no, we should. I don't think we should.
Okay.
I don't think we should emulate the white man in the way that I feel like Black men are trying to. If we look at our community, mm-hmm. the times where we were thriving the most was when, from what I can see, from what the history has looks like, because none of us was there, but from what the history looks like, our communities were thriving better when our households were ran quite differently from the way white people run their households. And that was more of a partnership than it was anything else.
Well, I mean, the Harlem Renaissance, Black Wall Street, around that time, you're talking about the early 1900s, late 1800s, when men were making money, women were at home. So it wasn't a partnership, because feminism.
You don't think that women being home, taking care of their household, and men bringing home money to make sure the household run, you don't think that's a partnership?
We have to define it. If we're gonna use these words, like in modern society, partnership means that 50-50 paying the bills.
I don't agree with that.
Someone being a helpmate, being a helpmate is the word I always use. Being a helpmate, someone that's contributing, running a household, taking care of the kids. Yes, that is your partner. But a partnership, in the context of today's society, most people refer to that as being like 50-50, as far as, financial.
Okay, so these men want women to, you want them to work and bring home money, or you need them to work and bring home money, because at the end of
not all,
the majority of, how many of these men are really making $100,000 a year? Let's be real.
All right, so I'm only speaking for the travel community for the most part. The dudes that can travel.
Okay, I go with you on that then.
They could afford to travel.
But they're not the ones with the big mouth, though.
I mean, that's true.
They're not the ones who running their mouth and who got so much to say about what women doing and what women not doing, because they too busy traveling the world, fucking out of both legs, and not really caring about what's going on with Black women in America.
So I want to address some contradictions, right?
Yes.
So when it comes to, Black men shouldn't emulate the way white men run a country. So if Black men in the U.S.
I'm talking about households, not their country, because we're not really running no country. But go ahead.
Or even it's a trickle down. It's still a mirror. Our society mirrors our households for the most part. So
okay.
So Black men, American Black men, if we're not mirroring the white man in the United States, then we're gonna want to mirror, let's say, Nigerian men. You know what I mean? So you can't on one hand say, okay, Black men need to
so ain't no other men besides Nigerian men that emulate?
No, I'm gonna use that example because I'm gonna make another point around that. So if Black men have a problem with women being more financially free and things like that, and Black men should be able to accept that, and Black men should be more like how Black people should be, like then what's wrong with mimicking Nigeria? But then on the other hand, people will say Nigeria got its issues with how it treats women and things like that. And I recently reacted to a TikTok where a Nigerian man was like, don't bring your girlfriend or wife to Ghana or Nigeria, because our men here, if she looks good, they gonna offer to buy her a house, a car, take care of her. They was like, if you bring her here, you're gonna ruin her. And a lot of women was like, yeah, girl, let me get my passport. You know what I mean? We need to hit up Nigeria, Ghana this December. So the women was going crazy. They was like, this is not, they was like, now I feel appreciated. So I found it ironic because it's just like, okay, these men are willing to, Nigerian men, they are very generous, you know what I mean? But on the flip side, a lot of people understand like their dating culture. Even the Nigerian woman was like, these women, if they come to Nigeria, he gonna have another wife, he gonna have a side chick, he gonna take care of you, but you're gonna have to deal with the things that come along with it. So I'm saying that out to say is that if Black women, and there was a lot of comments going for it, Black women are either they're not thinking, either they're just thinking about the material stuff, but if they are willing to deal with an African man that will spoil them, knowing that culturally they like to run through women, why they can't accept it from Black American men?
They do. They do on a regular basis. Come on, be for real. The majority of the men who have money and they take care of their women, they don't have a problem with women caring. The women don't give a damn about them cheating.
I mean,
and if they do, they still stay with them because they are taken care of. And you think those Nigerian women just sitting there not saying anything about those men who cheat on them? There's always a problem. You can, if you take oh God, what's that guy name? Two-Face. Two-Face and his wife have been all over Netflix and the Instagram and all of that stuff. He done had all kind of babies on that lady since the time they've been together. He done had all kind of babies on her. Actually, her first child with him was, I think, like his 5th child, and they've been together. She's been with him the whole time. Why does she stay with him? Because he takes care of her. He takes care of her. Has she not made a big deal out of it and made big stinks out of it all over the place? She has. But it doesn't stop him from continuing to do what he do. But he also takes care of his wife and his children. So,
okay, so what about the average Nigerian man? I mean, he gets to run through women too, right?
I don't know any Nigerian men who just get to run through. I know there's a lot of single women, single parents in West Africa, single women with children, single mothers. I know there's a lot of that in Nigeria and in Ghana. So they pretty much doing the same thing that men here do. The difference is, what I see is a lot of times what it takes to take care of a woman there is not as much as it takes to take care of a woman here. So, but that's not our fault. Hell, you live in America. Hell, the rent here in Atlanta, the rent here, the cheapest rent you're gonna find probably right now is about $1,800 for a 1-bedroom place. So if you can't afford that, then you do need to go somewhere where you can afford to be a hoe and take care of these women and the children that come from your home, and they'll be willing to accept it. I know a few women who their men take really good care of them here in America, Black American men with Black American women. And those men tend to be a little hoish. And while there's oh, I can't do this, and they always end up staying with them because they take care of them. And what happens is they put them in a position where they really can't afford to leave them.
Right.
So when you have situations where the women can't afford to leave, they leave. What am I staying for if I'm not happy? You ain't paying, you ain't really taking care of me. So I ain't really benefiting from it financially. So what am I here for?
So I mean, here's another caveat is like, unfortunately, due to us being enslaved, we don't have our own country because honestly, a lot of us look at these countries and wish we had our own country. We could go to we could look at Dominican Republic. Those men, you know what I mean, they have it good. You know what I mean? When it comes to their women and things like that, it's a very masculine culture.
And they take care of their women, right?
No, they knocking them up. I mean, they knocking them up. You know what I mean?
So, hold on. So you mean to tell me that you think it's a good thing that men are not taking care of their
this is what I'm saying.
Society?
This is what I'm saying, right? In these developing countries, Latin America, parts of Asia, parts of Africa, a lot of developing countries where a lot of feminists want to see those countries have more rights for women, more protection. Even Colombia just got a Black female vice president, so they want to do more progressive things, making sure there's more benefits for women with kids, how we got food stamps, things of that nature. So there are problems in melanated countries when it comes to patriarchy and economy and how women are treated. Yes, it should be better. All I'm saying is that if Black men in the United States, if we aren't going to mimic what white people do, if we had our own country, it'll be just no different than.
So it'll be a poor place. It'll be a poor place.
Yeah, or closer to South Africa, which is a little bit more developed. You know,
did you say South Africa?
Yeah, South Africa.
South Africa, they went through just about exactly the same thing that we went through.
Yeah, but they're more advanced. They're probably the most advanced country in Africa.
No, I'm absolutely, but they still suffering from the same kind of stuff we suffering from here.
Yeah, but it's a majority Black country, and is ran by Black people. You know what I mean?
It's ran by Black people?
Yeah.
You sure about that?
Yeah, I mean there are still elements of colonialism, but on the grand scheme of things, South Africa is. We have to give them that they have taken back their country. You know what I mean? They're like 90% African.
So their resources are being controlled by Africans or Europeans?
There are legacy things that the colonizers still own and profit of, but the wealthiest people in South Africa are South Africans.
Yeah, and most of those South Africans are from where though?
No, South Africa. Like, I mean, I'm saying I've studied them. I've seen their businesses, Black owned. They're killing it out there. You know?
Okay, so why don't y'all go there?
I'm definitely advocating visit South Africa, because of buying land, it being more developed, it'll be an easier transition for any American, Black or male or female. Some guys give a little pushback. Dating. But some guys give it pushback because they like, man, because there are women that do have attitudes. They do have this, they do got the nails. They do, you know what I mean? So they have picked up elements of the United States because they even got a Real Housewives of Durban. They got a Real Housewives show. So they have picked up. So some guys aren't interested in South Africa because it's perceived to be no different than the United States. So they may look at other countries in Africa that's a little bit less, less American.
And they still need to get their financial game up too. So whatever it is and wherever they're going, they need to get their money game up, because you can't be sitting around here broke.
But it's gonna be up. It's gonna be up compared to what the average local man makes. It's gonna be up by default of the American dollar that they're making here versus what the local man is making there. So that if to the women there, they're gonna be middle class.
Okay. Well, I think that's a good. I would rather them choose those women than some of these other women that they go out here choosing. As long as they Afro something or African, I'm all for it. You know, somebody asked me recently, a gentleman asked me, well, what if Black American men start going to different countries and getting them wives like y'all getting these African men? And I'm like, I actually think it's a good idea. If you think, because to me, you may be, just like I was able to get what I felt like I needed from being married to my husband, who's a Ghanaian, you may be able to get what you think you need as a man from a woman that's an Afro-Latina or Afro-Caribbean or African. Right. I think it's a good option outside of going into this other stuff. I'd rather see you with a brown girl than a white girl any day. No, I don't care where she's from. So that's just how I feel about it.
I mean, I'm pro Afro, Afro, whether it's African or Afro, whatever you want to call it. I think that we're at a point, a point of impasse where I think that Black Americans, we're 12%, 6% men, 6% Black women. We're gonna be the first group of people that are gonna date out in large numbers.
I totally agree.
We have become incompatible in a lot of ways. We have options outside the United States for other type of Black people.
Yep.
And we basically are going through we're basically divorcing each other,
I wouldn't say that. Damn, that's a bit harsh.
I'm saying I'm projecting the next few decades that half of Black people that want to be married are going to be married to non-Black American people.
I agree with you on that, but I don't. As long as they Black, I don't see nothing wrong with it. Congratulations on your nuptials. Congratulations on being married to an Afro-Latina. And I am pro Afro whatever. Marry your own damn people. I don't care where they're from. And for whatever the reasons are, whatever the reasons that we choose to marry non-African Americans, I think it's of no consequence. I think it's a natural progression. I don't see anything wrong with it. I think most of the women that I talk to, they don't care about our men marrying other Black women. I think the issue comes in when they're marrying non-Black women, and it's like they're choosing or they feel like that's better than being with a Black woman. I think that's an issue. But at the same time, what you eat don't make me shit. So whatever you choose, more power to you. You just have to know that it's stuff that come with it. And before I let you go, I wanted to ask you one thing, because you are married to a non-African American, and you are one, like I am. What I know for me, I found there's a lot of challenges in being married to somebody outside of our culture. What have you found to be some of the most challenging things with being married to a non-African American?
Our communicate context, right? So we can communicate in English. We know things and content. We know you know what I mean. You know what I mean when I say so. You know what I mean. So even though like my wife, she could speak English, but I could say some things where she may take it out of context. You know, and then I have to break it down and kind of explain the culture, how we do things. So another language is difficult in itself, just if it's Spanish or Portuguese, and then even English is still context.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So those things, you know what I mean? So those things uphold challenge. I mean, most of the arguments or disagreements, when we got to the root of it, it was communication. It was understanding where I was coming from, knowing that I wasn't trying to be rude or trying to be offensive, and vice versa. So I would say that's one of the things. I mean, you deal with that with people in the U.S. You know what I mean? Just taking stuff out of context. You know.
Right.
So,
but do you think it's even more coming from a foreigner?
Yeah, it's even more because they don't understand the culture.
They don't understand.
Lingo.
And for me, you know, like I said, today it's been 11 years that I've been married to my Ghanaian husband, and I can say the first 3 years it was rough because of communication. And when we got down to it, it all boiled down to communication. You know, like Ghanaians take things very literal. And, you know, as Black Americans, we talk, the way we speak is just, it can be kind of haphazard. Like we have our own English. Right. And like you said, like a lot of times things get taken out of context, but it's because they're not a part of the culture, our culture, so they don't understand where we're coming from. And it can cause a lot of drama, a lot of drama. And when we finally got to the meat and potatoes of it, it did all boil down to communication. And you know, like even after 11 years, sometimes like we don't understand each other, but we've learned how to just be like, okay, I don't know what you're talking about. Can you just explain it to me now? Because I don't get it. And how's the humor? Because I know I found that people don't have the same humor as we do. Like shit that we find hilarious, other people looking at us like. So how is that with y'all?
I would say for me, I mean, I'm silly. I can make her laugh. I mean, her humor, she might send me something on Instagram or something she think is funny, and I'm just like, this shit ain't funny. She's just cracking up. I'm just like, okay, all right, you know.
Another cultural thing, like things that we culturally. It's funny. Like at the very beginning of this, you made a Color Purple reference, and I immediately got it. But I know people who are watching, they won't know what a lot of them, because a lot of my viewers are African, and they're not gonna understand what the hell we were talking about. And even though we laughing because it's funny, but it's funny to us because it's a whole cultural thing. And that's that. And I know another thing for me had been, you know, we make a lot of movie references. a lot of show references. And if you don't know those shows or know those movies, that shit fall flat every time. And you just looking like, oh yeah, you don't know that. You don't know who JJ is. Like I remember saying to my husband one time, I was like, oh, why you walk around here with your lips looking like Pookie? And he was like, who is Pookie? So I had to go pull up a picture of Pookie and explain what was wrong, what was going on with Pookie and why Pookie's lips was white. And it was just like, shit was exhausting. But what have been the best parts of you being married to Afro-Colombian?
I mean, with her, I think the best part, obviously, is the best part is when I'm around her. I would say just her making a home feel like a home. Like I've had failed relationships with other Colombian women and Dominican women, so I don't want to generalize, but her specifically, you know, she knows how to take care of her home. You know, she loves to cook. You know, she loves to cook. You know, what I mean, you know, she always, you know, cleans, and so she takes pride. She takes pride in that, and you know, but she is a sister because she'll say, I do this because this is what. Because I made a comment like, man, your mom raised you to be a wife, didn't you? And she was like, my mom didn't raise me to be a wife. You know what I mean? We learned how to cook and clean, but it wasn't for us to do it for a man. It was just to do it for ourselves. So I was just like, you know what I mean? You sound like a sister, because she was like, she took offense to saying that, because a lot of guys say, you know, these women are raised to take care of a man.
I was just about to ask you that.
With some instances, it may be the case, you know what I mean? But in her instance, she just said that her mom just taught them certain things, you know what I mean? And so I benefit from the things her mom taught her.
Yeah, and to close this out, a lot of times I hear men say that they say that women here are not raised to be wives, and they make a lot of these sweeping statements about us. I'm somebody's wife. I've been somebody's wife for 11 years, and I think I've been doing a pretty good job. He's African. But hearing you say you've had several failed relationships with Dominican and Colombian, it makes me want to ask, so here you have these men making it seem like, oh, I'm gonna just go down here and get me a Colombian chick, or I'm gonna go down here and get me a Brazilian chick or a Dominican chick, and they're gonna just fall in line. You've experienced something different. So was it just that y'all wasn't compatible? Or were you finding that women are, just like men are men all over the place, women are women all over the place?
That's a great question. Yeah. So yeah, the harsh reality is, and I try to be more transparent with the brothers, is that women are women no matter where you go. I mean, the attitudes, I didn't escape the attitude. I didn't escape that. You know what I mean? I may be able to how should I say this? She may be able to handle my pushback a little bit more than sisters, because, you know what I mean, a man that's overpowering or can out argue a woman, or women in the US tend to be like, I'm out. I'm not trying to argue and fight. You know what I mean? Where, you know, I noticed in Latin women, they can take a little bit more heat from a man. You know what I mean? They're a little bit more aggressive too. You know what I mean, as well. So yeah, they do get attitudes. They're not submissive, even though my wife can be submissive. I wouldn't not dare say, you know what I mean, she's more submissive than an American woman. I've had American women more submissive than her. You know what I mean?
Right.
So it's just that with her is that she's less likely, culturally, they're less likely to give up. I feel like they're a little bit thicker skinned when it comes to certain things. But
So
for
they're
the
more willing to take your shit.
they're a little bit more, they call themselves tigers, tigre, you know what I mean? The male and the woman. So they can take a little bit more, but they do dish out a little bit more too. You know?
Ah.
And but for the most part, they are they're more sexual. So men appreciate that. Whereas you hear about men in the US saying, after marriage the sex decline. You don't hear that in countries.
Yeah, because they don't have to work.
Yeah, that's a different conversation. But as far as the point you was trying to make, though, a lot of men that'll say they'll just go over here and do that. See what they saying a year or two later. They ain't gonna be talking. They ain't gonna be talking too much because they ain't got no receipts.
Right.
So it takes some trial and error, and you gotta put in the work to find a woman overseas. It's just the which for a lot of men, what you get is a better deal. You know what I mean? Just like,
and when you say a better deal, you mean you're talking about the what a woman can take from you.
The better deal is the better deal is more sex.
Mm-hmm.
The better deal is if you live there, a different culture, let's say less racism, a woman less likely to give up, hence lower divorce rates in a lot of these countries. And then a lot of them, a lot of them can't cook a basic meal. I've seen a decline in American women that don't know how to cook. I know how to cook because
really,
my mama went to work and she like, you gotta cook for your brothers and sisters. So I learned how to cook because of my mom or your parents. And so, it's a different conversation, but a lot of women don't know how to cook because their mama didn't teach them how to cook, or their mama didn't know how to cook. Because cooking is something that you learn from your parents. If you don't know how to cook, that means you didn't learn from your parents.
Right.
For the most part.
Okay. Yeah, you're right. So before I go, I just want to say, with full transparency, me and my husband, we over time, like we've lived here in America and we live in Ghana, so we go between the two places. And in the last couple of years or so, my husband, he said something to me and I had to point out something for him. And he said that when we're in Ghana, you're much more sexual. You much more, we have more sex, like we getting it in or whatever, versus when we're in America. And I'm like, yeah, we are. Because in America, I'm not only I gotta help out because we have 4 children. So it's not like I'm just home kicking it. But in America, we really have to get it in. The bills here are way through the roof. Especially, we live in the city of Atlanta. The on our street, the average rent is like $2,500 a month. So, and I'm talking about for a little row house, 3-bedroom, 3-bathroom, $2,500 a month. So I'm not even comfortable just like letting my husband take care of everything here. I want to help out some, because shit, just feeding all 6 of us it take a lot. Right. So, and as his helpmate, I got to kick in my help game. But when we're in Ghana, our bills are nothing like they are here. Right. I have so much more help. Like I got family members who can come and get the kids and all that. Like we can hire help. there's more help. So I'm not as tired and I'm not as aggravated and frustrated and all of that stuff when I'm there, because my life is so much more comfortable there. So yes, I have more energy and I'm ready. I can feel it. Versus where I'm here and I'm tired and we both running around and we missing each other half the time. And when we are laying down, everybody tired. And although you might want to just go ahead and get you one off, don't nobody want to just lay there and get ran off on, or you just getting yours off. You got to put in some work too. But it's not necessarily as, you don't have it like that when everybody tired.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So I would say that it is women outside of this country, it's easier to be more womanly and feminine and really just embrace all of that, versus when you're here and you gotta help. So
I agree.
I would implore men to understand that unless you're able to really like take care of everything, then you can expect that.
But some will say it's evident in Black and white community. But some will say, like, Latinas will say, like, we love sex, like it's in our culture. Like even in the United States, they'll say that the Latino man will say that's not a problem. I don't know, because they try.
Most of the Latino men that I know, they take care of their women too.
Okay, fair enough.
I mean, and I'm not saying that Black men aren't taking care of their women. I know a lot of Black men who do. And they don't have this is not their conversation, because their life is different. You know what I'm saying? So, but if you want women have to work here, they having children, they got to take care of the children. And it's like the men don't even feel like they need to participate in the household. All they have to do is bring in some money, and you only bring in half of it. So at what point?
I think in America, I think it's more sexually attractive. I feel like you have to be very, very attracted to somebody to want to have sex with them all the time, because of the environment that you're around. You know what I mean? Like I found myself more sexually aroused going out the country, because per square foot, I may see just more women that I'm attracted to. So my libido is just up, because I'm seeing like more women that's my type, versus in certain cities I lived in. You know what I mean? It could be some days where where it was a woman that made me turn my head. You know what I mean?
Oh.
Man.
Well, that's a whole nother story. Because I'm gonna just be honest. These brothers, I think Black American men are the most sexiest men on earth. It's this thing that y'all have. It's this. Woo, I love it. My husband just happens to be a man that I really think is super sexy. That's not from here, but I'm not going to. We're not going. He don't have that African American thing, but he got another thing that's even more sexier to me. But most of the men that I see in Ghana, I've lived in Guinea. I didn't find the men there really. I've lived in Ghana, and while there are a lot of attractive, there are a good bit of attractive men. They don't have that thing. Same thing with Nigerian men for me. Some of them are very they have something about them that's sexy, but it's not like an African American man. like African American men to me. And I think that's why our women are feeling so damn frustrated, because we do really check for y'all, but y'all don't really be checking for us. And at the end of the day, that's where we at.
We checking for the wrong people. It's like the ones that attracted to a certain woman, that woman is attracted to another man, and that man is attracted to a certain woman, that woman attracted to a different man. So we just kind of we
missing each other. We missing each other. But it's all good. I'm so happy that you found your woman, just like I found my man, even though we had to go outside of here. And that may be what we need to do. Then, like you said, as in the next couple of decades, it's probably going to be more and more of the case where we're going to just have to look outside of our community and our culture if we want to have be in a marriage, be in a really good situation. Because if 80% of them don't want to be married, then goddamn, I wonder how. I would like to find out how many of how is it with women? Like, I know there's a lot of women now who don't care about having children, and they don't care about getting married. But I wonder if the percentage is similar, and is that why so many are not finding each other, because they don't want each other? I think that's what we are. At the end of the day, you married, I'm married, we both happy. Your wife in Colombia, my husband in Ghana, and we'll see them when we see them.
Hey, I guess in closing out, I will say that I'll make an assumption to say that 80% of the women don't want to be married because 80% of the women filed for divorce. So they don't want to be married anyway. So we can say it's about the same.
It's about the same then. And so the 20% on each end, y'all need to find each other. Find each other. Go on and find each other. The ones of y'all that's not part of the alphabet community. But anyway, that's a whole nother story. I'm gonna get in trouble for that one. Watch. Anyway, thank you so much for having this conversation with me. I've had you for a long time. They're gonna love this conversation. If you haven't already, please, please, please subscribe, like, share, all of that stuff. Make sure you go over to NoExcuseEnt and subscribe. Watch those videos. He has a whole lot of really cute content with him and his wife, showing Colombia, showing Africa, showing all of his travels. And maybe one of those places you'll find you a woman or a man, child.
Yeah.
So thank you again, Rob, for this. It has been amazing. I have kept you way over the time that I was supposed to have you, but I thank you anyway.
No, it's all good, man. And I wanted to tell you from in the beginning that me and my wife, we are interested in exploring South Africa to live. So even though I'm in Colombia, I do want to live in Africa, hopefully in South Africa, but I got to take her there for a few months to see how she like it. But that's where I would want to live.
Wow. I am so happy to hear that, because I think more of us need to move to Africa. I don't care what country you choose. Find your country that you like and go there, visit a few times, and decide where you want to move and live. And let's get out of these people country. Until next time, it's been wonderful talking to you. No excuse. This has been Breaking the Chains. I am Bakita Muhammad, and we're out.